you could rule the 9 worlds in every conceivable outrealm. Alphonse X Veronica has already been confirmed. Loki and Thor also know about these events, and they are heavily recruiting, but maybe not for the same purpose. So what if I told you that there is a whole mythology with a lot more depth and lore than the story chapters ever gave us? What if I told you that some of the events may have been foreshadowed in ancient stories? Hi, this is Eldervi, and in this video I will explore the lore of Fire Emblem Heroes. Who are these OC characters? Who were they inspired by? Where did IS stick to real mythology? Where did they mess up? And where did they straight up invent their stuff? Most of you are probably aware by now that the story of Fire Emblem Heroes is linked to Norse mythology. Those who have seen the Avengers know at least that it is a bit too much of a coincidence that we have 2 characters named Loki and Thor. But let's start with the basics first. The Norse mythology takes place around the sacred tree Yggdrasil. Yggdrasil is the center of the cosmos and is considered to be very holy. Yggdrasil itself may very well be a location in future FEH content, seeing that the creatures living within include the dragon Nighthawk and 4 stags, which may very easily be translated into a nice new hero archetype, making the whales open up their blowholes. It is indeed called blowhole, I googled that. By the way, if I slaughtered all of these names and also those yet to come, bite me, the people who invented them are dead, so who are you telling me that it is pronounced differently? Leave Eldervi alone, you b****s. Please? That video aged frickin' well. Around Yggdrasil are 9 worlds, which have so far been the showplaces for our heroes to travel to. There's Midgard, the realm of the humans and showplace of Book 1, where our heroes from Asgard fought the Emblem Empire. Then we have Muspel, the kingdom of flame with Surtur, and Nifl, the kingdom of ice and home of Fjorm. In the center we can see Jotunheim, the home of our beloved warrior sisters Node and Dagger. And right below Muspel, originally called Muspelheim, lies Liosalfaheim, home of the fairies or elves, as which they are described by in the Norse mythology. The only realms we haven't traveled so far are Asgard, home of the Aesir tribe of gods, which has indeed been mentioned already and may be the home of Loki and Thor, and Varnaheim, home of the Vanir, who are also a group of gods associated with the ability to see the future. This makes 7. The 2 last places are Nifavellir, the location of our current Book 5 around Regan, and Svartalfar. These 2 places are indeed a bit tricky. The 9 worlds are nowhere specifically listed in sequence, but were rather collected by a gentleman called Henry Adams Bellows, who translated the Poetic Edda in 1923. This is further complicated by the fact that historians are unsure which folk was supposed to live in Svartalfheim. Both dwarves, which are more commonly associated with Nifavellir, and dark elves, which might have been the inspiration for the Dökkalfheim, are mentioned in combination with Svartalfheim, so it is uncertain if FEH already covered this place by the dark fairies around Freya, or if they consider it a separate place which we might still go to. Probably depends on how much money they can still make with this game, cause if this realm is indeed covered by now, we basically have only 2 realms left to cover, Asgard and Varnaheim, both said to be realms of gods. May one of these realms be the place Leaf spoke about at the end of Book 4?
Lost ones. With no home to return to. There is an unsavory cadre of gods that may grant your wish.
Maybe these will indeed be our next destinations. The 9 realms are actually confirmed in Loki's level 40 conversation, where she says, "Can I borrow your divine weapon?" Oh wait, I'll try doing it in Loki style. "Can I borrow your divine weapon? Just for a little bit. It is simply too much power to put in the hands of a human. you could rule the 9 worlds and every conceivable outrealm. Yeah, I nailed this. Attentive watchers may have realized that I left out Hell, the realm of the dead. While covered in Heroes as well as the Norse Mythology, this place is not one of the official 9 worlds, but rather something in between. We will cover this in the Book 3 section, which will have quite a lot of surprises for you. This video will deal with the characters and story from Book 1 and 3, which are thematically connected, while the other books will follow in an upcoming video. Assuming you will like this one. Like and subscribe, now. Please? So, we find ourselves in Midgard, the realm of the humans. The place is home to the Kingdom of Ask and the Emblem Empire. While Midgard is indeed the realm of the humans, also in Norse mythology, Ask and Embla do have different meanings. Ask and Embla were humans created by the 3 entities Wili, who also goes by the name Lodur, Wei, who also goes by the name Hörnir, and Odin. Then they were given a home within the walls of Midgard, where they happily populated the realm. Ask and Embla were therefore the very first 2 humans, kinda the Norse version of Adam and Eve, which they surely didn't just copy. As far as I'm aware, there is no further story told about the 2, unlike our story of Adam and Eve, who had to leave paradise for bringing out their inner Karens. While Alphonse and Veronica do not explicitly stand for Ask and Embla, you should remember this connection for a very nice symbolism coming in Book 3. Say whatever you want, Alphonse x Veronica has already been confirmed. Apart from that, Book 1 is completely made up. All that contract bullshit was just IS's way to make you spend unlogical amounts of money to summon your favorite husbandos or waifus. 11 times. Isn't it funny how some people are mad about Fate separating their story behind 3 individual games, while others are paying $1,000 or $2,000 on Corin and Camilla each? Not even talking about their alts yet. Sadly, all the OCs from Book 1 are completely made up so far. Alphonse, Sharina, Veronica, Bruno, Zacharias? Zacharias, where are you? Whatever. I have a small theory about him, but this has to wait for now. All made up. Kudos to those who named their own summoner Odin. You must have a lot of story fun in Heroes. Trickster Loki, who first appears in Xenologue 2 in the disguise of Bruno, is a whole other topic though, which I will need to address much later. Interestingly, IS did come back to Norse mythology when they gave our heroes their weapons. Our very own weapon, bridal, which we used to trap poor Fire Emblem souls in this competitive hell of Arena and Aether raids, is originally one of the halls of Asgard and the home of Baldur. Hardcore Fire Emblem nerds may have a little huh moment right now. Name sounding familiar? This is because Fire Emblem Heroes is not the first game to draw inspiration from the Norse mythology. Genealogy of the Holy War, for example, has actually taken tons of references decades ago, naming most of the 12 Crusaders after Norse gods in some way or another. This is kinda important to know, with Uller, who is the god of bows in Norse mythology, as well as many other FE4 characters being added to the game. They might want to skip entities with the same names in a possible story about Asgard, just to avoid sharing names. Then, on the other hand, there is no way we'll get all 12 Crusaders, so they might just skip those they want to have in the story instead. We'll see. The summoner wielding the weapon, named after the home of Baldur, does have a lot of relevance though, as Baldur is one of the most important gods in the Norse mythology. His death, caused by no one but Loki, is the first harbinger of Ragnarok, the end of the world. Kinda. More on that later. Another famous place in Asgard is Alphonse's personal weapon Folkvang, originally a meadow where those that die in combat go upon death. Folkvang is the alternative to Valhalla, a place much better known to many people. Half of the dead warriors go to Valhalla, while the other half is claimed for Folkvang. Funny enough, the original owner, if you may call it that way, of the Folkvang meadow is no one but goddess Freya. The poem says nothing about what criteria were used to determine who goes to Folkvang and who goes to Valhalla, so let's just assume that Freya chose out of personal interest. I'll take the slutty ones, thanks. Seeing how Alphonse took that from her, it is fair to assume that the poor Fire Emblem characters in your barracks are actually dead and now stuck in their personal hell to be objectified. Not that I'm complaining. Sharina's weapon Fensalia is the home of goddess Frigg, wife of Odin and mother of Baldur. While there is much worthless information known about this place, one part of the lore is of special interest. There is another goddess named Saga, who shares many similarities to Frigg. So many similarities in fact, that historians started to believe that Saga is just another name for Frigg, which would make them the very same person. Why is this interesting? Cause Saga's home is called Sökvabek, the name IS gave the weapon of Alphonse's emo alt Leaf. This means literally that Leaf wears an alternate version of Sharina's weapon, which could have already been a foreshadowing of what was going to come in Book 3. Or at least a hint for their connection. Had we googled that. I'm sure some people did. Nevertheless, it is a beautiful connection between Leaf and Sharina, and makes me wonder if this was planned long ahead or just a coincidence that worked out very well for IS later. I assume the latter. All of the other weapons from the characters of Book 1 are as well named after famous places in Norse mythology. Anna's weapon Noatun is the home of god Njord, who belongs to the not yet seen realm of Varnaheim. He is said to be the father of Freya and Freya, though I do not think IS will ever go there story-wise. Njord is mostly associated with the sea, and seafaring, and fishing, and wealth. You can see where this is going. Another connected story are the weapon names of Veronica and Bruno. Bruno's weapon Valaskjalf is called after one of the homes of Odin himself, the other being Valhalla as mentioned before. And Brave Veronica's weapon, Hlifskjalf, is literally the name of Odin's throne standing in the very same place. Good job. Here to see in a lovely family portrait made for their Christmas cards. It did take IS some while though, as OG Veronica is introduced with the weapon Ilivagar, a name they are very likely regretting to have used so early, as it is strongly connected to our characters from Nifl. More on that in Book 2. While we have yet to encounter OG Henriette on the battlefield, Book 3 gave us a glimpse of Gustav's personal weapon Glitnir, which is called after the Hall of God Forseti. While the character Gustav is completely made up, Henriette mentions that he used to be very hot-headed in his youth, later evolving into the cautious and stern king we got to know. Glitnir is the seat of justice amongst gods and men. The place is symbolic of the importance of discussion rather than violence, which is a nice little callback to Gustav scolding his son for taking reckless battles. With this, we may already enter Book 3 territory, which is thematically coherent to the characters from Book 1. As I said before, different from all other books so far, Hell, the realm of the dead, is not one of the 9 worlds around Yggdrasil. Same as in Heroes, Hell is an afterlife location in Norse mythology, ruled by a being of the same name, Hel. Hel, an actual goddess, who didn't have to gender swap in order to be appealing for Heroes waifu collectors. They did their best, I'd say, is actually said to be Loki's daughter. Loki, who is obviously male in the Norse mythology, is said to have laid with a woman named Angerboda, the so-called mother of monsters. Loki and Angerboda had 3 kids together: Hel, Fenrir, who is well known being a giant wolf, and the serpent Jormungand. Seeing this collection makes it kinda obvious why no artist has ever dared to draw Angerboda herself. I mean, yikes! All 3 of them are considered dangerous, mostly cause of their troublesome parents, and were therefore banished. Hel is sent down into the realm of Nifl. Yeah, I mean, I guess you can say that geographically. Where she has to rule over the same called place Hel. Makes you wonder what came first, right? Did they name her daughter Hel after the place, and the poor child ended up there? Or was the place named after her? But then what was it called before? A place where those who die of age or disease have to go. Remember, the cool people go to Valhalla or Folkwang. Hell only gets what is left. On top, her job is not really to rule over them or get stronger from them, but rather to care for them. Have you spent time with your delusional grandparents lately? Imagine having to do this for the rest of your life, but not only with your delusional grandparents, but with every delusional grandparent in the world. No wonder why she snaps. Heroes has taken strong reference from the mythology by creating Hell, making our heroes retrieve Angerboda's heart, which they state as the thing that created Hell. The thing that created Hell. In order to kill her. What the heck were you fucking, Loki? Angerboda's heart. That is what the ceremony requires. Angerboda is a being of great power. It was Angerboda who gave birth to Hell herself. By harnessing Angerboda's power, we can kill Hell. Interestingly, while the event Ragnarok marks the death of most gods, there is no ending of Hell mentioned in Norse mythology. She is the only sibling not around during that event. It is merely stated that Loki would arrive to the battlefield with her people. More on that later though. In the story of Heroes, Hel abducts Air from a different world, making her believe she was her mother in order to kill her again and again till Air's immortality vanishes. Hel gains strength with each life she takes, making the immortal Air a perfect opportunity for power. In Norse mythology, Air is indeed considered to be either a Valkyrie or a healing goddess. There have been conflicting mentions of her, resulting in scholars arguing about who she was and where she belongs. This is in fact a remarkable reference to Heroes Air losing her memories and not knowing where she originates from. IS said, well, why not do both, and put her on a dark flying horse while giving her 2 healing skills in Mystic and Sparkling Boost. Whether she is a Valkyrie or a goddess, she probably originates from the realm of Asgard, which we have yet to see in Heroes. Therefore, I hope that Air's origin may be further discussed in future books, as Valkyries themselves are an interesting archetype for heroes to introduce in later books. For story reasons, not just to make money. How dare you! Air has also a direct connection to her weapon Livjaberg, which is the so-called Hill of Healing, where Air appears in a painting as one of 9 maidens. 9 maidens. Stay strong, IS. Stay strong. You must resist the temptation. There is no further meaning behind this though. It is literally the first and kinda only thing you find when you Wikipedia search Air, which looks like what IS has done. With that being said, let's move on to the arguably more interesting and core storyline of Book 3, revolving around Leif and Trasir. When Leif first appears, he is actually mislabeled as the first king of Ask, who formed an alliance with the Divine Dragon Ask. Divine Dragon Ask OC confirmed. Only later we get to know that Leif is indeed Alphonse from an alternate Ask, who performed a forbidden rite to destroy Hell, but ended up killing everyone else in Ask instead. Shit happens. Prior to this, Sharina dies right in front of him. In his misery and despair, he forms a bond with Hel, who promises to bring back the people from his realm for taking the lives of people from another realm, the very same realm we find ourselves in. According to Norse mythology, this is indeed possible. After Baldur, son of Odin and Frigg, you know, the dude with the place they called our weapon after, is killed by Loki, he is sent down to Hel's realm. As Thick Mommy just can't live without a favorite son. She is more of them, but they are less important as it seems. She sends them down to Hel to negotiate Baldur's release, which Hel actually agrees to. The only thing she demands is wanting to see that all things in the world, alive or dead, weep for him. Then he will be allowed to return to the Aesir. If anyone speaks against him or refuses to cry, then he will remain with Hel. They obviously get everyone to weep for him. If there wasn't a certain individuum disguised as a female giant basically saying, fuck him. And so he stays with Hell. Being simply the underlings of Hell, getting the alt status of Veronica and Alphonse, who themselves don't have legendary versions or anything cool yet, there was indeed an early outrage about them getting the title of Mythic Heroes. But there is much more to these characters than it seems. First of all, what's the mythological origin of Leif and Thracia? Still remember the connection of Ask and Embla being the first man and woman? So are Leif and Thracia, who in Norse mythology survived the horrible event of Ragnarok, the literal destruction of the world, to repopulate the world of humans afterwards. Leif and Thracia are therefore direct descendants of Ask and Embla, carrying on their legacy after the destruction of the world. Leif and Leif Thracia, which is the original name, interestingly gender swapped in the Norse mythology, where Leif is the female and Leif Thracia the male. Leif can roughly be translated as life, and Leif Thracia is, therefore, life's lover or lover of life. I don't know why they did this. I guess Leif sounded better as a codename for Alphonse, sharing at least 2 letters, while it really didn't matter in Veronica's case. During the events of Ragnarok take place, the literal destruction of everything. These two hide in a forest, as the only survivors of mankind. In a forest. I guess we can't take it that literally. This is indeed top tier inspiration and execution of Norse mythology, with Leif and Thracia being the sole survivors of their destroyed world. Not so much by their own choice, but whatever. Their goal is to recreate their original home, and cause raising several kids named Sharina, Anna and Virion can be really hard. They try to take the easy route by just killing another realm. Having 2 kids of my own, I can kinda correlate to the decision of not wanting to raise an entire population on your own. Just as a quick digression, I already told you about the connection of Leif's weapon to Sharina's. Thracia's weapon, Ifingr, is the name of the river dividing the realms of Asgard and Jotunheim. You may interpret whatever you like into that, I personally just think they stole the name. If they were to take actual reference, they could have called the weapon Hot Mimis, which is the name of the place where Leif and Leif Thracia hid to survive, but what do I know? The weapon in their Valentine's duo named Pjalfi is actually one half of 2 siblings, the other being Rosqua, who are both servants of Thor. We already know that Leif and Thracia ally with Thor and Loki after the events of Book 3, and this further deepens their future story connection. Duo Plumeria and Triandra confirmed? Even if it doesn't look like it, the hero story is going somewhere greater. We just need to take a look at every piece of the puzzle before we can see the bigger picture. And there is a bigger picture. The real story may have just begun. In our currently running Tempest trial, Loki and Thor discuss the existence of the Twilight Runes, which are a prophecy about how each realm will come to ruin. The Twilight Runes are prophecy, the unavoidable future. They were written by Alfador himself, and they tell of how the gods will one day come to ruin. Within them all of time, from the very beginning to the absolute end of it all. This is basically the exact recreation of Ragnarok, the event which caused most gods and all humans besides Leif and Leif Thracia to die. It is announced by 4 warning signs, some of which we have already witnessed in the story of heroes, others are yet to come. Same as the Twilight Runes, the gods in Norse mythology knew Ragnarok was coming, and still, when their end had come, they marched into this unavoidable battle nevertheless. Loki and Thor also know about these events, and they are heavily recruiting, but maybe not for the same purpose. Whoever thought heroes might come to an end story-wise, far from that. But before we can fully cover these events, we need to discuss books 2, 4 and 5. I hope you enjoyed this video. This was a lot of research and preparation work, so every comment, like and subscribe is dearly appreciated. See you soon with more content around Fire Emblem Heroes.